thing is about record deals, and yeah, it's a huge section of the book. It is way more than we can cover in 1 week in one chapter, but good enough for us to start with. So what is a record company, first of all? So you got a few multiple choices, but the correct one is a record company handles overhead cost, marketing, distribution, and the other essential tasks in exchange for control of the record and a portion of the royalties. So a lot of times I will say they own the record, right? They own the recording. I think I'm going to get into audio 2. The cover that I want to try to do is All Along the Watchtower, which is of itself a cover, right? The Jimi Hendrix song is a cover of the Bob Dylan song. And so the record company for Jimi Hendrix owns that recording. There is a Bob Dylan recording, and Bob Dylan's record company owns that recording. And those are separate recordings for separate record companies. And none of those have to do with owning the song. Bob Dylan owns the song. All right, well, let's try to move on. Question number 2 is about recoupment. So recoupment is once the record company has paid all the money to make the record, they expect you, as you are selling those records, to pay them back for making the record. So the question says, a record company can give you an advancement and handle varied recording costs, to handle varied recording. They would handle the varied recording costs. I see. A record company can give you an advancement and handle varied recording costs, but they expect to receive the money back later through the royalties you earn, and that's called recoupment. All right. So, right, they own 50% of the royalties that they just keep, right? Now, out of your royalties, that's where you pay back that amount of money. And yeah, we offline of this, we should talk a lot more about recoupment and how that might play out. But so I kind of set up this 50-50 split, but of course it's never exactly quite that easy, right? And the next question says, the royalties that the artist receives depends on many different factors, but in a good general estimate in a standard record deal, it would be 15 to 17%. And in the book, he does a good job of showing you how it gets whittled down and down, right? Because first of all, right, the record company takes their 50%, right? And then out of your 50%, right, you have to pay the producer, you've got to pay if you have a manager, if you have an agent who worked on it, if your lawyer got a percentage of the record, right? All of those things are going to pull it down to where, oddly enough, what the artist ends up with is getting about 15 to 17%, right? So if you get one of those gold records and you say this record made $1 million, right? That artist doesn't get $1 million. If it made $1 million, they end up with 150. Actually, even less than that. But we're not gonna get too far into that. Okay. The number 4 says the term of a record deal used to be the term. Okay. The term of a record deal used to be time-based, right? That they owned it for 2 years, but now it's delivery-based. So how much, whenever the record is finished and you deliver it to the record company, that's when the record starts, or the contract starts. That is the term of the record deal. It's annoying because there are, the term, right, has multiple meanings. In this sense, it is the amount of time that the record contract goes for. All right. Producers used to be hired by the record company. These days, they're hired by the artist. Okay. So in the bad old days, and I think of Atlantic. Atlantic was one of my favorite record companies, and they did a whole bunch of great music in the 60s into the 70s. They had a model where they had producers that worked for Atlantic, and they would assign the producer to the different records. And if you think about this, especially even going further back into the bad old Frank Sinatra days, right? A record company would say like, "Yeah, we need a Christmas album. You producer, produce us a Christmas album," right? And so then the record label would hire the producer would hire songwriters, arrangers, musicians, make the record. Now it's the artist who hires the producer, right? And it ends up that the producer's money comes out of the artist's half of the royalties. Okay. What is the current source of most royalties earned by a recording artist today? This is not a trick question. All right. So especially for big names, where they're getting most of their royalties are from streaming and digital downloads. All right. The next question is true or false? Audits are your way of confirming that your record company is compensating you correctly and fairly. They are expensive, however, they're expensive, however, so make sure that it is a worthwhile investment. And that is true. Every contract should have that in there, that you can go through your record company's books and make sure that they aren't cheating you. But right, it's going to end up costing both of you money, so you should have pretty good evidence before you start that you're going to find something, and that's probably going to put you in bad terms with your record label. So if you're on good terms with your record label, it might just be worth it to let them cheat you a little bit instead of triggering an audit. But the next question, what other forms of media are also subject to royal commutation, right? Where they would get royalties from? And the answer is all of the above, right? Apps and ringtones, video games, TV advertisements, radio, podcast, all of those things. They're all royalties that you should get, but also that the record company can use toward your advancement. All right, because of the overly broad definition of the word record in most contracts, your label could control your involvement in motion picture, festivals, and even your TV appearances, all in the name of exclusivity, right? So in a contract, they own the record and they are exclusively owners of the record. This, if you can understand this, I think this helps out a lot with that difference between owning the record and owning the song. So going around on YouTube, you may find that there are some songs and some artists that you can't find the record, right? If the actual, Led Zeppelin song is hard to find on YouTube just off of the record, but a Led Zeppelin concert where they play that song, you can find that, right? Because the record company doesn't own that performance. It's not exclusive to the record company. That is exclusive actually to probably the promoter of the concert and whoever made the film, right? But it's more to get into with that, but I'd like to wrap this up with the last question: is it true or false? There are other kinds of recording deals that can be made. Those include loan out deals, independent production deals, profit sharing deals as well as distribution deals, and that is true. All of that is true. Okay, so I went through that pretty fast. I didn't even stop for questions, in the thought that you guys may actually go back and watch this video if we don't get one up on YouTube, or I could cut that up. Have to see about that. I'll put that down as yet another thing on my list of things to do. Anybody there?
I'm still awake.
I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So the I suppose the good news is that I will not have to do that again. Right? All of the other quizzes, I have videos. They're up. They're edited. They're on YouTube. They should even be in the content folders. So this will not be a weekly occurrence.